Getting on the internet to promote a show that glorifies cheating was not my bingo card for this year, but here we are. So I am here to talk about the JBL When It Rains It Pours. It's currently on episode 4, and though I would love to not spoil as a way to promote, I kind of have to talk about the plot a bit for you to get the content as to why we all are basically cheering for one of these characters to cheat. And this isn't a new concept that I've seen in Japanese shows. I've seen a hetero show that had a similar concept of these relationships or committed relationships, whether they be a marriage or a committed girlfriend, where somebody just stops wanting to be intimate and the other person has to slowly endure the lack of intimacy, relationship, and loneliness on their own while navigating the cultural, Japanese politeness and not being able to kind of ask straight up, like, what's going on? Why won't you sleep with me? So we have two types of scenarios here. Again, I will do my best not to spoil, but some things we just have to talk about the show. So I'm going to butcher these names throughout, but I'm doing my best. So we're starting with Nakarai. So his story is he's actually the only one here that's single. So he's free to roll. He's free to hot and trot. But the problem is he is in love with his roommate, Fujisawa. Now, what is cool about Fujisawa, and the only thing that's okay, because the rest of it is very cruel, is Fujisawa is a college friend of his, and he let him know from the jump that he does not see him in that way, in a physical way. He cares about him. They definitely have a deep connection, those two, through caring and consideration, but he let him know that he's not, interested in him. I don't know if it's because he's not into men, or maybe he might be ace. We're still very curious about Fujisawa's reasoning for not wanting to move forward and continuing to treat Nakarai this way, but he was upfront about it. But unfortunately for Nakarai, he is in love with this man, and he is extremely good looking, and he can't help himself, and he's continuing to endure this constant battle of rejection and loneliness while cohabitating with his roommate. Okay, and I apologize for butchering these names, but next we have Hagiwara. Japanese isn't my strong suit here. He is gorgeous, and he is the one that we're all cheering to cheat. And again, not on my bingo card in 2025, but here we are. So the thing with him, he's been in a relationship with his girlfriend, I believe about 2 years roughly, and they were intimate before. And then at some point it just kind of stopped. And like, I'm always interested with watching these Asian television shows about the cultural balances. And there's a thing that I like to call just Japanese politeness, where they're not very direct and they don't ask things flat out, and they kind of pretend that they don't notice certain things as a way to maintain peace. And a lot of that has to do with his girlfriend and the lack of intimacy and rejection that he gives him all the time. And he is still a man that's very much in love with his girlfriend and wants to be physical, but he is being denied by her and is made lonely in his relationship, and he's suffering from that. So what makes these two characters meet is they accidentally email each other, and in Japanese polite form, they continue to communicate and end up forming a connection, because when you talk to a stranger, you tend up breaking that cultural barrier of politeness and keeping things close to the cuff. And they were able to kind of reveal some of their darkest fears, concerns, and intimacies. It comes out that Nakarai is gay or is interested in men because he's in love with his male roommate. And they both just talk about and reveal at some point that they're both being denied physical intimacy or love in the way that they want it with their respective partners, and they bond over that. But in a fun, meet cute, these two people that feel they are strangers are not strangers. They're actually coworkers, but they don't know that they're emailing each other for a while. So Fujisawa, who is Nakarai's roommate, again, they're not together, and it was very clear, and a boundary was given that he was not planning to be intimate. But what is really frustrating with him is he does a lot of emotional intimacy. In the scene where you're seeing where he's holding his foot, Nakarai basically gets hurt. It's not a big deal. He just stubs his toe one day while having a fight with Fujisawa, again, because they always fight about the same thing about intimacy, where Nakarai will pull a fight, pick a fight with him to try to get him to emotionally connect so they could talk about their problems. And Fujisawa just runs away and cowers and doesn't want to talk about it and ignores the situation. but he'll overreact about the boy stubbing his foot and then be touching his foot all intimately and then not touching him. He does not want you to touch his foot. He wants you to touch his body. Something is very interesting and mysterious about Fujisawa. Again, I suspect he could be Ace, or he might have some type of trauma related to Nakarai as to why he refuses to be physical. I also see, too, that he shows jealousy signs when Nakarai shows interest or talks about his pen pal during the show that he doesn't know yet is Wada, but it's just really interesting, this dynamic. Again, you don't want to touch him, but you want to be with him. Like, it's very weird, but he's fine as hell. Like, I get why the boy don't want to leave. He needs to leave. Like, that's going to drive you insane if you're looking at, like, a filet mignon all day and you can't eat it. I don't know how he deals with it. I don't like cheating. I do not like cheating. And I'm trying to understand, again, I'm going to butcher names here, Misutani, but she's honestly pissing a lot of us off. So what is really frustrating about it is, again, they had intimacy before. It's not the same situation as the other couple. They've been together for 2 years. They live together, and she's constantly denying him intimacy and not explaining why. It's okay if, like, you're not feeling it. Like, no one's forced to get down a relationship. But, like, if you just cut it off and you don't tell your partner why, that's kind of weird. And in a twist that we found in episode 4, again, I have to talk about the plot and spoil a little bit. So here's your spoiler warning up to episode 4. We find out that not only is she intentionally withholding intimacy because she tells a friend of hers, because something about this Japanese, this is a concept that happens a lot apparently in Japanese culture. This is the third show I've seen about it, to where there's another couple that they're friends with where her husband, they're having a baby, but we find out because she can just sense that he's also sexually repressed in the same way that she is. He's impotent. And so she just basically reveals to Hagawada that Mitsutani told him that they're also not being intimate because she finds his manliness not attractive in the moment. What the heck does that mean? I don't know. I mean, but it's just, there's a different thing of just like somebody saying straight up, hey, I'm going to be around you, but I don't see you like that, maybe because you have your own issues with intimacy, or somebody who did that before but then withholds it and then doesn't tell your partner why, and then he finds out from a stranger. So in the scene that we're seeing here, this is where he basically stops the Japanese politeness and just asks her flat out if they could get down, and she denies him again, and he just can't take it. So again, nobody wants people to cheat, but for a man as gorgeous as him, and he is so kind and polite to his girlfriend, he's not like the push up on you. Like, him asking was the most direct that he's done in the entire 4 episodes. And when she told him no, he just walked away. But it's just painful to see a man who's just, just so unable to navigate this conversation with this in his own relationship. He tries and then he gets denied. And, he's also connecting with Nagarai, and they discover later that they end up, they find out that they are in fact the secret pen pals, and they form a closer relationship of going out and talking at dinners and doing this exchange one-to-one and try to help each other with this cycle of loneliness that they're living in. And it looks like in the next episode, we're going to get some cheating. It's getting really good. Again, nobody likes a cheater, but I mean, look at him. Can you blame him? I mean, it's just, what else are you going to do? Anyway, it looks like it's going down in the next episode, so here's your time to catch up. I feel like that is going to be some immaculate time if they end up getting together. And honestly, I don't love cheating, and I really do hope that he tries to talk to his girlfriend before this happens, but honestly, I kind of can't blame him. Anyway, check out When It Rains, It Pours.